Okay, we're going to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff to have a really cool comparison for you guys of two pretty under the radar in general dive watches. And they're, of course, from a very above the radar brand like Seiko, but I feel like neither of these models get the amount of attention that I think they're really due, with the exception, I guess, the Marine Master 200. In this particular trim, Shane from Relative Time actually has one, which I was able to see. He had it on in person when I went up to an event in Dallas, and I have to say I was really impressed with it in the metal, especially at closer inspection. And these variations of these SPB, 63 MAS or 62 MAX slash, Marine Master 200. I've reviewed multiple variations. I own multiple variations of these watches, but these are kind of the unsung heroes of Blue Dial. One of them you probably might not even know existed, which is on the left-hand side, this really sick Prospex SBDC163, which is actually a JDM Boutique Exclusive. So you can even get this here. In terms of getting a blue dial with a blue bezel, they both actually have a matching bezel in terms of the finishing. Of course, they're executed slightly different. I'm talking about the insert in particular, but I really like the duality here, kind of comparing, one with the contrasting dial with that glacier texture, and then one with a bit more of a direct matching dial with that sunray blue. Both of these watches were actually provided in on loan from Belmont Watches in San Diego, so big shout out to them. Thank you very much. Now, in terms of types of watch, of course, these are both dive watches. Some key characteristics inside which you're looking for a diver. You're going to want water resistance to some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel, and a diverge extension is always nice if on bracelet. Both of these models are actually equipped on bracelets. I just put them on these straps so they would lay flatter, mostly because the Marine Master 200 Reduced is a brand new piece, so it still has a lot of the plastic wrap on the bracelet, so I decided to just swap that out. Thankfully, super easy, clean swap because it has drilled lugs. But with all that kind of intro out of the way, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, let's go ahead and start off with the more rare of the two in this JDM Boutique Limited model. Now, this actually goes for $950 pre-owned from Belmont Watches, and it's in great condition. Everything lines up really beautifully, as you can see. Let's just get that out of the way, guys. Of course, there's going to be a slight bit of play, but it's just enough to make sure that you can align that perfectly every time, so I really appreciate that. And this color combination is just gorgeous, guys. So what you're going to see here is a very vibrant sun ray blue dial, and you're going to see, of course, within the darker quadrants, it's going to be matching more to the darker non-reflective angles of this beautiful blue bezel. But for those of you who have seen this bezel outdoors, you'll know that this is really bright. And the cool thing is when this really lights up, I don't know, it'd probably be hard to get in, in the studio situation, but this basically can be as vibrant and electric as that little sliver of indigo there on the blue dial. So blue on blue, really not available. I think recently they did a new special edition for the US that has a textured blue dial. So it'll be like, apart from this, that'll be like the first time they've done a blue on blue. But man, this thing is gorgeous. I was really eyeing this model for the longest time, and I just was never able to pull the trigger. But I mean, at $950, this is pretty outstanding. Nice pre-owned watch. Everything aligns really beautiful. And again, if you've seen my SPB143/SBDC101 review, then this is a really handsome watch. And of course, it comes on a nice bracelet and everything like that, Dia shield. But if you haven't seen that, some of those details, of course, you're going to have a unidirectional rotating 120 click bezel that feels very solid, very dampened, and very smooth. The coin edge is very nice. Again, everything lines up, and if you are feeling like something's askew, you do have a little room for play to really just get it to be perfect to your own standards. So I really like that. Some highlights are going to be just a beautiful, let me just give it a quick wipe here. Are going to be the finishing, the fine details. The deeper you get into this piece, that little chamfer on the edge of that beautiful coin edge grip, and then of course you do have this nice polish bevel, as well as a nice undercut to really slim this case out. And it's really fantastic, guys. This is one that I've wanted to get in the metal for a long time. Again, I've considered many times purchasing this for my own personal collection. Of course, I have a lot of Seiko divers, so that's tough, and I have a lot of blue dial divers. So actually, the cool thing is, one thing to mention, because they're both actually equipped on bracelets, like I had mentioned. But of course, the plastic wrap is on this because this is actually a brand new watch, unworn. So instead of trying to unwrap that more, I decided to just, use those nice drilled lugs, swap out the straps, just so I could kind of freely be able to lay them out for you and everything like that. So really beautiful. And now side by side, you got the Marine Master 200. This is the Prospex SPB299, and it is a Save the Ocean special edition, and it's a modern, of course, the case and whatnot in general, apart from this particular model and style colorway, this is going to be a modern reinterpretation of the Seiko's original saturation diver, the 6159, which is an upgrade of the short-lived 6215-7000. This goes is new again. I mean, apart from me reviewing it, is new from Belmont Watches for $1,050, and I think that's a heck of a deal. Again, shout out to Shane from Relative Time for really shining a light on such a beautiful model, and I think this one doesn't get enough coverage. My goodness. And in terms of like the case finishing, I mean, really at the price point at around $1,000, you're not going to find anything that is going to be finished this beautifully. Look at that bevel. Look how crisp that is. And again, this is underneath a coating. Let me give it a quick little wipe here. This is underneath their Dia Shield coating, their super hard coating. And you guys can see, I mean, the luster is beautifully deep. The brushing is immaculate, guys. This is exactly, those types of things that Seiko's really been known for in terms of just their case quality being, leagues ahead of your typical, under $1,000 watch. And this one does go for a little over $1,000, but, with a case like this, it's competitive with watches, I'd say, in the, 2,500 category. And I mean that honestly, just, you can't argue with the precision on that. Even this coin edge bezel, although you might see similarly cut bezels from other brands, I mean, the level of just pristine accuracy on how those are rendered in the engraving and the finishing is just, is absolutely breathtaking. So really nice. Also going to have, of course, beautiful bezel action. Smooth, a little bit more resistance than I would say than the 62 Max, if you want to call it that. But again, similarly lines up beautifully, and there's a touch of play if you want to try to wiggle with it and get it to lay exactly where you might want it to lay. And again, this does come on the bracelet, so if you are interested in either of these pieces, just know that you'll also be getting the full bracelet. This is a brand new piece. This is a pre-owned piece, but I mean, thanks to that Dia Shield, this is in pretty impeccable condition. So with that stuff out of the way, right, let's just compare these two. They are great looking watches. You have 40.5 millimeters versus 42 millimeters. You have 13.8 millimeters thick versus 12.5 millimeters. So this one is actually slightly thinner, and you can see, thanks to the way that they actually do a lot of intricacy in the case design and profiles, they're going to both look much thinner than they actually are, and they're going to wear much thinner. Of course, this Marine Master style profile with the nice organic swooping lines is really going to hug the wrist beautifully, similar to something like, let's say, a modern Sumo. While here you're still going to get a nice soft bend, but it's going to be kind of an older school look that's going to, it's going to wear a little bit taller, even though it's only marginally thicker. So those things you do want to keep in mind. And yeah, I mean, these things are just awesome looking, guys. I mean, I really enjoy both of these. Again, I own variations of both of these, and I've reviewed even more variations of them throughout the channel over the years. So normally we'd cut away for stuff like getting it on the wrist, but hey, this isn't a full on review. This is more of a comparison, so we'll just go ahead and get these on the wrist. And did I mention that these are Montreux straps? One cool feature about these is that they offer like 3 different blues, which is cool, right? Like usually a brand will just kind of stick to one blue. It's cool that they offer 3 different blues, and of course this is the navy, and then there's the light, and then there's like a medium blue, kind of royal blue in the middle there. But check this out. On my 7.5-inch wrist, this 42mm case is just perfection, guys. Look at those bevels. Everything is just laying just beautifully, and if you really want to watch that just exudes everything you love about Seiko, I think this is it. Check that out. The colors, everything just pops really beautifully. And oh man, I just can't get over this is one, both of them I've looked at and really had deep thought in whether or not to add it to the collection. And you can see, here we go. Whoo! Yes, for different reasons, both the fact that I love blue dial divers and of course Seiko divers, man. Of course, if I do get my wrist a little bit too close to the camera, you're going to get a bit of distortion in terms of the perspective. So what I like to do is keep my wrist nice and low and then just tighten up the frame a bit so you guys can get a detailed look while still keeping a bit of a truer aspect ratio. And you can see this lays pretty wonderfully on my 7.5-inch wrist. And you can see that my wrist is pretty round. It's not flat and super wide, so it's not like it's just going to accommodate to every single watch out there. It definitely is going to take, some thoughtful consideration. But man, look at this puppy. So dynamic, but versatile, right? These blue hues are going to go with everything, guys. Just fantastic. I love both of these pieces. I'm torn. Of course, I haven't pulled the trigger on either. I've definitely studied them over the years and really, thought about, either of these. And they're just wonderful watches. I don't know, guys. Ooh, too many divers, too many blue dials. Too many Seikos, and these are just within that category. Otherwise, if I was not a YouTuber and I was just a collector, these would easily be able to contend for, my favorite blue dial divers within this price point. Of course, there's going to be more expensive stuff that's going to be out there, but man, for me, these are about as good as it gets. Before you get into that kind of entry-level luxury status, $2,500 and up, and these are well beneath $2,500. So with that said, let's actually get them off the wrist, set up for some Lume shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay guys, Lume Bright versus Lume Bright battle. Let's get it on. Ooh, okay, so both of them, of course, are divers, Seiko divers at that, so you can expect the Lume to really perform. And, really the main difference here isn't really going to be in the level of application, more so in just surface area, guys. I'd say the 62 MAS definitely, that style with the more blocky indices is going to have, generally a little bit more coverage there. And to my eye, I don't know how much the camera is going to be playing off of this, but again, to my eye, I would say it looks slightly brighter on the left. But one thing I always like to work in, of course, is going to be a bit of a low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it's nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting, to maybe include a bit of harsh lighting, which typically could expose any types of production defects. But all you're going to see here are, two really tough, coated, protected examples of really wonderful evolutions of multi-tool dive watch where you're actually going to get a lot of versatility because they are quite handsome for your everyday wear experience. My goodness. And the bezels, again, on these, they are a blue, a metallic glossy blue, which is very hard to pick up on camera. You're pretty much going to have to go outdoors to capture it. I'm trying as many different angles as I can play off of it, but the richness, you're really just going to need to see that outdoors. But my goodness, these are just, whew, this is tough, guys. This is a tough thing about being a reviewer sometimes is you get to handle these pieces and then you're going to be sad to see them go. So I really love both of these watches, guys. You know, for me to tell you which one to choose if you were shopping and cross-shopping between them would be tough because, you know, I own two variations of them, and I clearly couldn't choose between one and the other. These are wonderful examples, and if they were released before the versions that I have one that's a blue dial with a black bezel in terms of the Marine Master 200 and or some people 200 reduced, and then for the 63 MAS I actually have, of course, the original style dial with the anthracite and the brushed steel insert, which is really gorgeous. But if these were released first, I mean, in an alternate universe, who knows, I might have these and be looking at those and drooling over them. But man, just big shout out to Belmont for lending these in so that I can experience them for a couple of days, get them on film, and kind of share them with you guys. And if for any of you guys are out there, I know I've read so many times in the comments, oh man, I wish they did this, you know, this 62 mass style diver in a blue on blue configuration. And here you have it, guys. And it is absolutely gorgeous. And then in terms of course, the Marine Master 200 reduced, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you could strip away all the cool provenance, and, you know, going back to the first, Seiko's first saturation diver and the first high beat diver, and, you know, you take all that, strip all that away, and you still have just an absolutely gorgeous piece. Both of these are powered by the automatic Seiko 6R35, which has a 70-hour power reserve and beats at 3 Hertz or 21,600 vibrations per hour. If I didn't mention that, both have screw-down crowns. Neither of them are signed. That's pretty typical for the Prospex line. But yeah, other than that, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Which are you picking? Guys, I am torn. I think they're both gorgeous. I probably won't be able to add either of them to my collection, but those are first world problems. For those of you who don't have an oversized collection, which would you choose? And if you are interested in either of these, definitely check out the links down in the description, because I think these are great deals for really fantastic timepieces. So with that said, let me know again what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.
They say you don't just buy the product, you buy the seller too. Well, here's a seller I can absolutely recommend. Belmont Watches in San Diego. They deal in both new and pre-owned, from industry mainstays to niche independents, across vintage and modern references. I've personally purchased watches from them and even had watches serviced and repaired through the local network. Whether you're just browsing current inventory or searching for a special reference, reach out and connect. You never know, they might be able to source the exact model you've been looking for. They drop new models every Thursday and even offer free 2-day shipping on all orders. Check out this amazing one-owner find. A true piece of history, equipped with genuine one-off memorabilia, personal to the Royal Canadian Air Force pilot who wore it proudly for so many years. You just can't find packages like this via standard retail. It takes real-world industry experience to create an offering like this. And if you're ever local, visiting downtown San Diego, you can check out their selection in person, or just stop by and talk shop with some fellow enthusiasts, who also happen to be some of the most down-to-earth and knowledgeable guys in the industry. So before your next big purchase, make sure to check out Belmont Watches and tell them Mark sent you. Thanks, guys.